The 60s, a time of hope, revolution, but most importantly, rebellion. The 60s become a symbol of the youth taking back control. This continued throughout the 70s and 80s as scenes were developing. Fashion and lifestyle caused friction between these scenes. People were changing, and so was their fashion. But one thing that everybody had in common was music. Music was empowerment, escapism, and fun. And at the heart of it all was the vinyl record. This documentary will look into the relic that stood against the test of time. What is the appeal of 60s, 70s and 80s culture?
I think the appeal of any culture that's not the present culture is, it's not an easy one to explain, but I think that part of the explanation of why stuff from the past sort of comes up again and is popular, and why people think that certain eras were better than the current era is to be honest, because most of the complete dross from that era has faded away, and what we're left with is kind of the jewels of that era.
I think in music terms it's kind of considered classic for quite a few reasons. Largely probably because of the way the music was recorded.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of analogue recording.
Yeah.
And there's a large difference, there's lots of arguments vice versa, but I'd say that's part of it, the analogue equipment used to record the sound.
Do you still collect vinyl?
Yes and no. I keep some bits and it's constantly changing. So I'll keep something for 3 months, get bored of it, sell it on, buy something else.
Yeah.
I get a lot of stuff in my hands, so I get to sort of pick. I'm quite lucky in that respect. But I don't keep one particular thing, one particular genre. I sort of move around. But yeah, I've still got a need to keep some things. Yeah. I'm not a collector as such.
No.
But it's kind of transient, I suppose.
One of my pleasures when I was a teenager was going to what would there have been, 4, 5 music shops in town that sold new stuff, whereas now you're lucky if you have one. But to say the 5 shops, doing the rounds on a Saturday and buying maybe either say 3 singles, 3 7-inches, or maybe a CD single.
Do you feel that vinyl today has become something of a fashion? And if yes, why?
I think it's in danger of becoming a bit of a fashion statement, yeah. I mean, you're always going to have that. You always have had elements of that, I guess, in certain scenes. I think as long as the music comes first, I think we touched on that the other day, as long as the music comes before the format, then it's cool. But as long as, as soon as the format overtakes the actual content, then it becomes just a fashion thing.
There's something a bit faddy about vinyl at the moment. I don't think it's necessarily a problem, and I don't think it will last forever. I actually don't think it will last very long. I think that people have rediscovered whatever that intangible thing about the power of it being a record as opposed to a download or a little CD. I think that won't go away. People have rediscovered that.
Yeah.
But the level that we're at is a little bit much.
Where do you see vinyl collecting in another 20 years?
I've no idea. That's another good question, actually. I mean, who can say? It keeps sort of going from strength to strength. It may fizzle out. It may just be the same. It might go in the way of sort of antiques, where the rare things go up in price, become more sought after. It's very hard to say.
Record shops in bigger towns have never gone away. They may have sort of price points have changed, and attitudes of the people that run them have changed, and some have closed, some have reopened. So and there's such a wealth of history pressed on vinyl that it's never going to go.
I suspect it won't be that much different.
No.
Except for the genuinely rare things in the right condition will be worth a lot more money.
Yeah.
And that might make it a little bit more elitist, because only people with the money can afford it.
Yeah.
So it might push certain people out, but who knows, man?
People are always going to want first press Beatles records. People are always going to want T-Rex records or David Bowie records. They just will, because it's just, this is when this thing came out at this point in history in 1966, this is what it was. And so to have the thing that it was, like any antiques collector or cultural, someone who's interested in culture, there's something about having the thing that was the thing on the day when that was released. It was this, and I can hold it in my hands and I can have it on my shelf,
and you can feel it. You can feel
that will never go.
So do you think that vinyl was a dying art, but with the recent interest, do you think it is keeping it alive?
Yeah, like we said before, I think it was possibly a dying art to an extent with the new pressings. I think the pressing plants probably on the wane mostly. Quite a few of them were closing. There weren't that many left. Now with the majors pressing up new release and reissue stuff, there's a big demand for the plants that are left and the people who work in those plants.
It's vinyl sort of is a dying art, but then lots of things are dying arts. For example, just off the top of my head, analog photography is a dying art, but it doesn't mean it's dead. It just means it's sort of
few.
It's an industry that's kind of going for a mini boom or quite a large boom, but kind of can't keep up with the demand. So something's going to have to give at some point, and it'll be interesting to see how or when that happens.
You can't begin to compare even the best-selling vinyl record now versus the best-selling vinyl, or even versus a moderate-selling LP